Welcome, everybody. My name is Chloe Ballatori. I'm a relationship and communication expert. I'm a graduate of Princeton University and Pat Allen's Want Institute. I use the tools of transactional analysis as created by Eric Byrne. I use the tools of androgynous semantic realignment as created by Pat Allen, who mentored me. And I also use tools that I've come up with myself since I've been doing this work for over a decade now. I'm also over 20 years married. So everything that I'm talking about with you, I have put to the test myself. Um, I've written 4 books on this work as well, and those are all available on Amazon. The first book has a lot of the basics in it. I also teach this work several times a year. I'm teaching a module 2 coming up, but all my classes now are available asynchronously. So if you guys are interested in doing it on your own, or you want some of my clients um want more privacy, they don't want to be in a group, and so that is also available at this time. But the groups themselves are small, and those are private groups, and we get deep into the books basically in there. Okay. Raul, somebody is commenting in the chat of the event that they're having trouble getting in. I don't know if you can help them, but if you can, I'd appreciate it. Okay. So, what are we doing here? Why are we here? We are talking about dating and relationships. And when we talk about relationships and specifically problems in relationships, we're usually talking about childhood trauma. And what happens is that when we're younger, anything that happens to us between the ages of 0 to 12 affects us in a more powerful way than events that happen later in life because our brain is going through critical developmental windows during that time. Um, so a lot of times when we are small, we have to sacrifice our authenticity in order to attach to the people that control our world, run our refrigerator, pick us up, and take us to school. And whether your parents were well-meaning or ill-meaning, in this context doesn't matter as much. But whatever happened caused you trauma, and that has to do more with not the size of the trauma, but the way that you processed it. So anything that happened that separated you from your innocence and that forced you to adapt in a way that was inauthentic to yourself. And what we see a lot is women tend to go, what we see a lot is a pattern of precocious relatedness, which means women tend to go masculine and men tend to go feminine. Now, just because you're born a woman or just because you're born a man doesn't mean you're masculine or feminine. That's true about 75% to 85% of the time. You may be a very feminine man, you may be a very masculine woman. That's fine. These tools will still work. But what trauma affects us in a way that provokes that precocious relatedness, which is leads to what's known as ego dystonia. And I'm using a lot of complicated terms. You guys will get to know these as you get to know this work. And hopefully things will come to light and be more explained as they are repeated. I'm going to give a brief introduction to the tools that this work is based on, which is very established scholarship, scientific and psychological principles. And then most of the time, we're going to answer your questions. So think about your questions while I'm going on about this. Okay, so we know that trauma causes us to become precociously related. What happens is from these experiences, we form what are known as survival conclusions. And they're coping strategies of the moment, but we think they're existential truths. And we carry them into our adult lives, and that's where they sabotage our relationships. We always see the trauma of our childhood in our most intimate relationships first. And there's an idea out floating around out there by some people that just because you get older, just because you grow up, you will just age out of whatever happened to you. And that's actually not true. You need to be conscious enough and aware enough to process what happened to you and to release every tear, every emotion that was suppressed or repressed. Otherwise, these things manifest in your body as disease. And there's a great book on that called When the Body Says No by Gabor Mate. And he goes very deeply into the body-mind connection. All of his work does. That one is a really good book. He also wrote another book called his more recent book is called The Myth of Normal, which is also very, very good and talks a lot about authenticity and attachment. Um, so that's where we get in trouble because we tend to want to find people in our romantic life specifically, but in our adult life in general, who fill the roles of the people in our childhood so we can resolve some of those relationships and some of that trauma. And if we're not consciousness, we end up being the victims of our own repetition compulsion, which means we're doomed to repeat that which we don't understand. If the mind can't think it and the mouth can't say it, again, that means it's suppressed or repressed and will ultimately either need to come out or it will manifest as disease. Okay. Everyone gets sick and dies. Everyone dies at some point, but not everyone gets sick, right? And so that's one of the benefits of doing this work is avoiding some of those things. Now, successful relationships are characterized by balance, and that's a balance between the feminine energy and the masculine energy. And I'm going to define feminine and masculine because, again, there's a lot of misunderstanding about what feminine and masculine is. Sometimes I'll use yin and yang as synonyms because the yin and yang are a little less charged in our society than masculine and feminine. There's tends to be more connotations with the terms masculine and feminine. But basically, all of us are both, right? All of us have a right hemisphere of the brain, which is the yin energy, the feminine energy, which is passive, patient, and vulnerable, which is receiving, which is the energy of creativity, sensuality, sexuality. Yin energy is in the world to make it fun, but it's not of the world. It's the area of magic, of feelings. And then all of us have a left brain, which is more single-minded, which is the world of linear thought, which is competing, controlling, conquering, achieving, doing, taking care of. These are all the masculine attributes. Masculine energy is very much of the world. Most of us are in our masculine when we're at work because work is all about achieving and doing and proving ourselves. It's not really about feelings. And in general, we live in a very masculinized world, right? That's one of the reasons we failed to preserve the environment. And so I work a lot with women who are very successful, but want to be feminine in their relationships. So they have to be masculine at work, but then feminine in relationships. And sometimes that switch is a little tricky. An alpha is somebody not who is a dominating bully, but an alpha is somebody who has a very strong feminine side and a very strong masculine side. And that sometimes will cause a conflict because the heart and the head are always arguing and changing. You're always changing your mind about things, right? And so this work is very good if you find yourself in that position because it gives you a rubric for decision making. I always ask people, in your relationship, which do you want more? Do you want your feelings cherished or do you want your thoughts respected? Everybody wants both. But in awkward situations and in conflicts, we use that rubric to avoid head-on power struggles. And whether that power struggle is reflected in communication or body language, whatever it is, power struggles tend to destroy romantic relationships. Okay. Okay, so that's my basic spiel. Now I'm going to take your questions. You can raise your hand, you can put something in the chat. You really can ask about anything. I work with people. Yes, I work with men, I work with women, I work with couples, I work with teenagers. Um, But I work on a variety of issues. Dating and relationships is my specialty, but I also work on family issues, work issues, communication issues. Okay. Elizabeth, how can I help you?
Hi, Chloe.
Hi, welcome back.
Thank you. I wanted to ask, a little bit been practicing the five flirts.
Good. How's it
And
going?
well, it's beginning stages, but I mean, just my question is from previous experiences.
Okay.
I want to know, how do you know, whether the attention that you do get from somebody when you're doing these things is authentic or if it's not because it gets tricky. So are you relying on feelings or are you, because I want to be in my feminine energy, but most of like four of the flirts are happening at work because I work a lot,
Right.
so I mean, there's like nooks and crannies you can like I could sit at, without and do these things. It doesn't have to be where I'm working
Right.
specifically. So the thing is that so for example, my question comes from this because there was a guy who started working in our department. He got transferred over and he was showing interest and then but something wasn't right. Like I mean, he was a great guy, but I just didn't feel right. Like something was wrong. Like something was very off.
Hmm.
So I just kind of held back and didn't do anything because it didn't feel right. And then I found out that he wanted me to kind of take him under my wing and show him the ropes and basically help him for free so he could get used to this role that he just got. He got a promotion, really.
Right.
And like that's not my job.
Right.
That is not my job. Why would I
Right.
do that?
To baby
And
step him through his work.
yeah. So he found somebody else to
Good
help
for
him.
you. Good for you for not taking the bait.
Yeah, but
It
that's the
sounds
thing.
like
I
you were tempted, but you listened to your gut instinct, which
Yeah, but
is a victory.
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I don't know when it's authentic or not now because of things like this.
Well, look, this guy, you felt something off and it was off. So, I mean, I would say that would be a good example of your instincts working. Some women, and I want to ask you this because some of the things you said veered into this. Some women get very suspicious once a man exhibits sexual attraction. Is that okay with you?
Um, yeah, as long as it feels right.
Okay.
You know.
Okay. Because, yeah, I mean, look, we, society, religion has done a number on women and taught a lot of us women that, in an effort to prevent right, unwed mothers getting pregnant and struggling on their own, um, a lot of women have been kind of brainwashed that, sexual activity isn't okay or can't be trusted, or if he's attracted to me, I should shun that or I need to push that away. And the truth is sexual attraction is what makes the world go round. That's how the race survives. So we never want to shut that down in a man unless we truly don't like him. Sometimes I'll hear women say, "Oh, well, he doesn't like me for the right reasons. He's just like really attracted to me." That's a good reason. That's a good reason. So, as far as trusting your instincts, it sounds like your instincts are doing pretty well so far, and you just waited. I mean, the good thing about being the feminine energy is you can wait because he who speaks first is masculine. So, you're waiting for him to make the first moves. It sounds like because of the nature of what he wanted, he was wanting you to be a mommy to him and you to make the first move. And so that's why I said that's really good that you didn't take the bait because just knowing these tools prevented you from doing that, prevented you from reaching out to him and cherishing his feelings and asking if he was okay and making the first move and doing all that, right?
Oh, I see. Because he wanted me to be in masculine energy so he could be in feminine energy.
Exactly. He wanted caretaking,
Okay.
which is not that appropriate at work, as you pointed out, and isn't also what you want to do for a man because you want to be in the feminine energy. So essentially, you guys were in a power struggle because both of you were competing for the feminine energy. Do you understand?
I get it. Yeah.
Okay. So you did great.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Good work. Okay, I'm seeing some stuff in the chat. We should be able to be any trait we want, James. Okay, yes, completely agree. Um, if you want to flip-flop between masculine and feminine, that's absolutely fine. My only rule with that is if you're in a conflict, if you start with a thought, you have to ask about your partner's feelings and vice versa. Okay? Does that make sense, James? Okay.
Why do you have to do that?
Well, you don't have to do that, but that ends up leading to more successful and more balanced communication.
Okay.
And so if you want to negotiate with love, that's what we do. There's three ways to negotiate. You can either bully with intimidation or fear, which is the masculine extreme, or you can seduce with guilt or tears, which is the feminine in the extreme, or you can negotiate with love. And that's what I teach. And that's that alternating thing where one person starts with X and the other person responds with Y. One person starts with a thought, the other person starts with a feeling. You don't always have to do that. But when you're in a conflict or an awkward situation, these tools will help you succeed in getting whatever it is that you want. So it prevents power struggles and it helps you to negotiate. Okay, Jasmine. I wonder if I let the men to pay more for dinner during dating, will he feel more self-centered and dominant later in the long term, e.g., more insist on his needs and less considerate of my needs. Also, I wonder if I should expect a man to be warm and caring, or if that may be too high an expectation for a man who is quiet and reserved. Okay. Yasmin, what are you talking about? You are paying for dinners on your dates? Is this true? Can you talk? Okay. Maybe you can't unmute right now, but I wanted to give you that opportunity.
Oh,
Um,
hello. Sorry,
oh, you are there. Okay.
yeah. So sorry, I was I clicked the wrong button. Yeah. So I was saying that I've been dating for about 3 months. So I've been following your advice. So
Good.
in the beginning, even though I was feeling uncomfortable, so I was allowing the guy to pay, but I noticed you know he was he number one, he's a little reserved, very
Okay.
quiet, and I noticed some signs which I'm not so sure whether it's like a little bit self-centered. He's like more he has very specific activities that he's interested in. He seems not as flexible in doing other kinds of activities. So I was just wondering, because if um, whether like this is already kind of 3 months we've been spending every weekend together, right? So I feel like maybe I should so
Has he
I
locked it down? Has he said he wants to be in a relationship?
no, I
Okay.
mean,
Has he tried to have intercourse?
yeah.
And what happened there?
No, we have been having
Oh,
for a
you have
while.
been having.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. So but he hasn't said anything about that, and I
No, but
haven't.
usually I recommend that you wait on the actual intercourse. You can have sexual contact, but the actual intercourse till you get into the relationship.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Just
what
because
do you
we
mean?
tend to bond when we have intercourse, anal, oral, vaginal. So
Mm-hmm.
you can do it. I mean, it's fine, but you can get bonded to somebody that ends up not being good for you, right? Because you don't
Oh,
really know them. But oxytocin is released in women's brains when we have
mm-hmm.
intercourse. Doesn't happen all the time, but it happens a
Mm.
lot. It happens most of the time. So,
So,
you
oh,
know,
sorry. So you said you suggest wait. Can you say that again?
so I
Suggest wait.
suggest you wait until you have the relationship. So it's
Oh,
exclusivity,
really? Okay.
consistency,
Mm-hmm.
longevity.
So that this exclusivity has to be explicit that you say,
Yes, it has to be articulated. You're not in a relationship just because you guys are seeing each other. The
oh,
relationship has to be, okay, you're still dating? Are you on the apps? No.
I,
Are you? Oh, I'm still on the apps. You have to discuss it.
yeah, I mean, can you assume it if you spend every weekend
No,
together?
you cannot
No.
assume it. You cannot assume it.
Oh,
You cannot
okay.
assume it. Please
Mm-mm.
don't assume it because that really does lead to problems and misunderstandings.
Oh, okay.
Is
So,
he
but you,
initiating most of the time?
you mean initiating dates?
Yeah.
Uh, yes, most of the time. But it is fun, kind of. But he's pretty quiet during the weekday, so wasn't like communicating much,
Is
except
that
some
okay with
like.
you?
It does make me feel kind of a little uncomfortable.
Okay. So that would
Yeah.
be something once you're in the relationship that you could address.
Okay.
But first,
So,
before you address any issues, you have really need to be into the relationship, right?
mm,
Um,
right.
I mean, I see that you wrote up here something about being worried about the amount of control he will have if he's always
Mm-hmm.
paying.
Mm-hmm.
I've talked a little bit about this before. There's a difference between courting and actually being in the relationship. So
Mm,
once you're in the relationship, it'll be more like 2 to 1. You'll have a different ratio. Sometimes you'll pay, sometimes you'll give, sometimes you'll do things, but it'll still be he's doing it more because he's in the masculine. You understand?
mm-hmm. Okay.
But I would
Oh,
just try to lock down the relationship, and a good time to do that is before intercourse.
oh,
Because that's when you
like
have the most leverage. I mean, you could say, I really enjoy being with you and sleeping together and all of that, but notice I'm getting in my feelings.
mm-hmm.
What 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 do you think? Are
Oh,
you still on the apps, you could say, or you could just say, I'm not comfortable having intercourse unless I
mm,
know we're in a relationship. It's
mm-hmm.
been great, and I've let myself go because I've been very attracted to you and I've enjoyed seeing you very much, but usually I don't have intercourse outside of a relationship. So until we're
Mm,
in a relationship, see, you set the price tag. Remember about the
mm-hmm.
prize and the price tag?
Mm.
So until we're in a relationship, um, you know, whatever. You can
Ah,
sleep in the same bed together, you can give him a hand job, he can go down on you, but it's not gonna you can hold back on the intercourse. And the only reason I say that is because we women get bonded from that. And you could
mm,
be suffering for up to 2 years of oxytocin detox, bonded
mm.
to somebody even isn't good for you. You know what I mean?
Right.
Just because
Yeah.
that's how the biology works.
Right. That's
So
really
as
good.
women get older, we don't have to worry about it as much because estrogen drops off.
Mm-hmm.
But um, I would say under age 50.
Mm. So, what's a good way to assess this? Just relationship means exclusivity, or should I explicitly say, are we exclusive in a relationship?
Um, so you gotta like put him on notice if you're gonna have that conversation. So you gotta say, hey, if you want to bring it up, you can't. Technically, it's the masculine to bring it up. Okay?
Uh-huh.
But you guys are like pretty far down. So you could just say, hey, there's something I want to talk to you about. Is now a convenient time? If not now, when? It's about us. So, you know,
Mm-hmm.
so he knows what's coming.
Okay.
And hopefully you do it on that day, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully today, because you don't want to have to sleep on it after you've already brought it up. So
Mm-hmm.
this is a rubric called the stroke and stand. It's in my first book. We go into much more detail in it in the first module. But basically what
Mm-hmm.
happens is you put him on notice of the subject matter is now a
Mm-hmm.
convenient time, so you get his buy-in. You're never going to question him without making this appointment first, right? Let him
Mm-hmm.
know.
Mm-hmm.
Don't barrel into somebody with our questions and our criticisms and our complaints.
Mm-hmm.
That's the stereotype of the nagging wife. So
Mm,
you make the appointment. This is going to be something, it's going to be, might be kind of an awkward situation. I'm feeling confused. Can we talk about the us? And so he'll
mm-hmm,
either say, okay, now, or can you wait in 2 hours? I'll talk to you, or whatever it is. And try to
mm-hmm,
make it in person. Try to have this conversation in person. Try
mm-hmm,
not to have it over text. If you have to, you can have it over the phone, but
mm-hmm,
definitely don't do it over text. Okay.
mm-hmm,
So then you're going to stroke him. You're going to give him the compliments. So you're going to be
mm-hmm,
like, and you're going to lead with your feelings. I've really enjoyed all the time we've spent together,
mm-hmm,
and you're very kind. And I wanted to let you know that I'm really happy, or whatever you want to say. I'm just ad-libbing,
mm-hmm,
however it is you feel. And then he's going to
mm-hmm,
take that in, and he's going to feel really good, right?
mm-hmm,
And then you're going to say, but I've just been a little bit confused.
mm-hmm,
Are we in a relationship? What do you think? And
mm-hmm,
just ask him. And then you just
mm-hmm,
ask him, what does it mean to you to be in a relationship?
mm-hmm,
And
mm.
hopefully you'll get it sorted out then.
Mm. But if he said yes, we are in a relationship, that doesn't necessarily mean it's an exclusive relationship.
Then you would say, if he doesn't make that clear, you say, okay, I just wanted to double check that you're not on the apps anymore, because you got to get the sexual and the social monogamy now. Because what
Mm-mm.
happens is, and I've had a number of clients who didn't get that, you're in the relationship, they're not cheating on you, but they're still on the apps.
Mm. Okay.
And that's not really,
Right.
that's like one foot out the door.
Mm.
And that's
Okay.
presenting to the world that they're single.
Right.
So
Yeah.
you want to get that. So you say, oh, okay. So that means you and I aren't seeing other people. You're not on the apps. What does it mean to you? Ask. Don't
Mm.
be afraid to
Yeah.
ask him for details. Oh, it's nice to ask a man about his thoughts. That he experiences respect, that makes him feel good. Ask what he's thinking.
Mm.
But again,
Yeah.
since it's, a tricky topic, you want to make an appointment first.
Okay. Yeah,
And
that's
then,
great. Yeah.
sorry, I was just going to say, then after you hear his thoughts, then you can make your expression of feelings and then decide if there's a prize and a price tag you want to associate with it.
Mm.
Does that make sense?
What do you mean by price tag?
So,
Yeah.
like, if he's like, oh, I'm sleeping with you, but I'm also sleeping with a few other women, I hope that's
Mm.
okay. Then
Mm.
you might say, well, actually, it's not okay. Or you
Right,
might say,
right.
yeah, that's fine. That's exactly what I'm looking for.
Mm. Okay. Yeah. Well,
Does
thank you.
that help?
Yeah, that's really
Okay, well,
helpful. Just
use it and let us know how it goes. I'd
can I
love
just
to
have
hear.
can I just do like one last thing? Cause I we just came back from a trip and I felt like sometimes feel he was like a little cold and distant, but I'm not sure whether it's just his personality or because he's very reserved. So so on Tuesday I couldn't hold it, so I talking on the phone, so asked about his feelings towards me, and
Oh,
he said he's still cautious because he wasn't sure whether.
don't ask a man about his feelings, please, unless
Oh
he's
yeah.
puking or bleeding. Yeah,
Oh,
you're not going to get
okay.
good answers that way. Please ask
Really?
about thoughts. And if he tells you his feelings, please ask his thoughts.
Oh, okay. Because I was thinking that's like one step towards asking about whether we are in a relationship.
Right,
I
right.
wasn't.
I get that. I get that. But
Yeah, yeah.
that could sabotage it.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Okay. I'm going to move on now.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that.
You are so welcome. And you guys know, this group is so great. We're building this community of like-minded people, and I love it. And you guys are getting an introduction to this work. If you have more detailed questions, or issues, then it's really, you should sign up for one of the modules, or here, I'll put it in the chat again, or sign up, get and have a private. I do hour, I do half hour. Occasionally I do a 15-minute. Okay. Let's see. I feel like there was another thing in the chat. Super insightful. Had a similar experience, neither good nor bad, just a matter of what energy you want to be, avoid power struggles. Right. Okay. Okay. Jazz.
Hi.
Hi,
So
welcome.
thank you. So it is my first session, so I might end up asking something that's been covered before. So
That's okay. That's
apologize
why we're here. There's
in
a lot of first timers
advance.
here.
Okay, so I have a twofold question. One, my first question is, you talked about feminine and masculine roles and how we can kind of switch between the two. So I work in a job where I am usually the head of that office. Um, And I have deterred from trying to date within the workplace in the past, but I'm starting to reconsider that. So I wanted to ask you, when your job requires you to be in an executive role or in a role that requires, maybe slightly more masculine energy, how do you then navigate your feminine energy at work?
Yeah,
If you know that
practice.
someone's interested in you, or there's multiple people at work saying, hey, you two should go out for
Right.
maybe lunch or something.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of it is practice. But basically, the basic answer is when you're at work, you're leading with your feelings, and when you're in your relationship in your personal life, you're leading, I mean, sorry, when you're at work, you're leading with your thoughts. When you're in your personal life, you're leading with your feelings. Does that make sense?
No, it makes sense.
Okay.
I guess my question is like, how do you execute that?
Okay.
Because
Okay. Yeah. I know it doesn't necessarily conjure up like an image when you say cherish feelings or respect thoughts or what that means. Okay. But once you learn these tools really well, the truth is you'll be able to employ some of your feminine side at work anyway, but you're just starting this your first night. So I don't want to give you too much.
yeah.
Okay. So, you're in your masculine, you're leading with your ideas, you're doing all your stuff, you're the boss, but then like for example, you wouldn't be the one to ask for the date. Okay?
Yes.
You
That's the big no-no for me. Yeah.
right, right. Okay. So the masculine energy speaks first, asks out first. If you're getting the vibe that somebody's interested in you, um, then, you know, when you're around them, you can be a little bit more feminine. What does that mean? Let them help you. Oh, I can't open this jar. You're in the office kitchen, for example. Can you do it? Or even on a computer. Let's say he's the tech guy. Oh my God, my computer's blowing up. I don't know what's happening. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Can you do a fake beta?
Yeah, yeah, I'll work on it.
Okay. So
No, I
let
see what
him,
you're saying.
yeah,
Yeah,
let
because I
him
remember
come to
one
your
time.
rescue. Don't be so capable. Don't carry the
Okay.
conversation, for example. Let him start the conversation. Express, praise his thoughts if you can. Um, Express again, lead with your feelings. If he asks about your thoughts, you can respond with feelings.
Ah,
Let him open the door, let him take the chair out, all that. And it's hard. A lot of things I'm
oh,
saying sound very
yes.
simple, right? But it's
Yes.
hard not to step in because women are very capable. And a lot of times we know or we think we can do it better, we know better. And so a lot of it is keeping your mouth shut. Stop
Yes.
thinking, stop bossing, stop controlling. Let somebody else take control. It's like you can't complain. I mean, women want to do everything, but then we complain that we're burnt out from it, right? So part of
Uh-huh.
it is stepping out of that. We have to take our foot off the gas to let somebody else step in. If you're always driving the car, nobody else can get in, no, in the driver's
Yes.
seat. So I mean,
Yeah.
I'm speaking a little in metaphors, like if you have
Uh-huh.
specific.
No, no, no.
Okay.
No, this is really helpful.
Okay.
Because yeah, no, I'm connecting the dots because yeah, no, so he's always like, he would always like open the doors and like pull a chair. And then like, I actually told him, I was like, hey, don't worry about it. I got it.
Oh no,
I'm
don't
not,
say that. Don't say that.
because it was like a constant thing. And I was like, I can open my own door. Like,
Right.
I
Well,
don't
I mean,
need
and
you.
that's the mind game that that has been pulled on women, right? This is how we've been raised, is to be strong and independent and to not need a
Uh-huh.
man. And the truth is, like, that's great if you are in a bad situation and you have an abusive husband, or, you're single and no one to support you or whatever it is. But most of us women, a lot of us women do want to be taken care of by a man. And it doesn't have to be financially, but it's just,
Hmm.
that psychologically, women need to feel good to do good, and men need to do good to feel good. And so there are differences between men and women. We really aren't
Yeah.
seeking equality in the personal sphere. We're seeking equity because that recognizes there are the brain differences between men and women, right? And
Absolutely.
equality's great. I mean, feminism's great. Like, I think women should get paid equally, obviously, for the same jobs that men do, and shouldn't be looked over for promotions simply because they're women. I mean, that's all been great for the workplace, but it doesn't translate into the romantic and the personal area as well for most women. So that's why you see a lot of career, very successful women who are single. And some successful women want
Yes.
to be single, but some don't. Right. And I know
Yeah.
for
No,
me,
that's
I'm very smart. I'm very capable. I'm super masculine, but I like to be taken care of sometimes. In my personal relationship, I like I like to receive. And yeah, I got to sacrifice control sometimes, and sometimes I have to
yes.
be quiet because my husband does things in a different way than I would. And that's scary for women who've had any kind of abuse because we've learned that we can't trust the person that is in control.
Uh-huh.
So the last thing we want to do is be vulnerable. But that's
Yeah.
exactly what we have to do in our intimate relationships. So these tools are a lot about seeing I don't know if you were here and you heard Elizabeth speak, but
Hmm.
seeing some
Yes.
of the red flags so that you're never going to get rid of vulnerability altogether, but you can mitigate it. You can stop yourself from repeating the same patterns. You can begin to recognize what certain signs are, who looks like they be more likely to be trustable, who looks like they'd be more likely to screw you over, right? When we're very
Yeah.
scripted from our childhood trauma, we can't really see these things that clearly because we look for just those people and just those scripts that we know that are familiar to us and that comforts us, but it doesn't bring us joy and fulfillment. You'll never reach actualization that way. You will never be living authentically that way. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah, and like what you said about vulnerability, it's like when I was younger, I was and I feel like I gave people chances. Um, but as I've gotten older, I think I don't want to because I don't want to be hurt.
Right. And that's normal.
Simple as that.
That's
Yeah.
totally normal. You probably gave the wrong people chances because you were so young, and you were just like reacting. I don't know. I mean, I don't, we don't
Yeah.
have to go
Yeah.
into the
And
details
I
of
felt
that.
like when I was younger, even though there were red flags of like this is not going to work or this is not a healthy relationship, you spend more time and effort, or maybe because my cultural background, I had something to prove that like no, I'm going to make this work, I don't know,
Yeah.
XYZ. And so somewhere, yeah, I mean, when you mentioned that, it's like, yeah, I do know I struggle with that. So that's something I'm gonna have to work on.
Yeah. Well,
Is
look for somebody who cherishes your feelings. That's the first good sign. Look for somebody
yeah,
who, when you say, I'm cold, goes to shut the door, gives you a sweater, you know?
yeah, yes,
And also look for words and deeds lining up. So if
yeah,
they say they're going to call you at 5, they call you at 5. I don't care what it is. They say that they're going to get turkey for lunch, they bring home turkey, unless there's like whatever. But you really need to look at people's, especially with men, their actions more than their words.
absolutely, yeah,
Okay. Okay. Well,
yes,
try some of that out. A lot of it is in experimenting with it, and come back and let us know how it goes.
will do. And then my second question is a quick one, and just to
Okay.
piggyback off of our previous one, we talked about like paying for dinners and all that. When you make more than the person, than the man that you're dating. I tend to feel guilty
Hmm.
about them taking the tab because I'm like,
I hear you. You're the one who doesn't want them to pull
um
the chair out. I get it. You got to work on receiving. You got to work on
I,
receiving.
so like, should I not feel guilty? Because I'm like, if we're going somewhere nice and then I know that I make two
Who
full,
asked for the date?
the guy did.
Then he's paying for it. Stop worrying about it.
Okay.
And if the bill sits there, let it sit and go to the bathroom.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks.
You are so welcome. Okay. What is happening in the chat? Okay. Okay. Well, James, I hear you. And I charge $200 an hour. But if you wanted to book a half an hour, I'd be open to that. The modules are 4 meetings, an hour and a half each for 200, so that might be a better bet. Um, you can decide. And like I said, occasionally I'll do a 15 minute. So if you really only have $50, let's just try to go as fast as we can, 15 minutes. You see, we're doing a lot here in like less, so it might be worth it. Okay. I
I
just
think Valerie had a comment too.
okay. Let me see this. I just started dating a guy who is an incredible match for me intellectually, worldview, and novelty seeking. He even speaks about yin and yang, which I do not yet. Oh, nice. Maybe he knows this work. He is expecting his hostile divorce to be finalized in 2 months. I am not going to step back because it's not finalized, but would love your comments on how to help him with the closure of a relationship that he thought wouldn't end yet has been horrifically painful for 10 out of 25 years. Okay. To be finalized in 2 months. Okay. Hi, Valerie. Are you there? Okay. Well, I want to give you that opportunity to unmute. Um, so if you want to unmute, you can. No? Okay. First of all, I would say congratulations in finding somebody that you really, really like. That's nice. That's always a good thing. Um, unfortunately,
Sorry, I finally unmuted. I
oh,
apologize.
okay.
I couldn't, and then it finally gave me an option on the screen to unmute, which was I hadn't seen it before.
Oh,
So
okay,
I'm
good.
sorry. Yes, I'm
Good.
here. Hi, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so unfortunate that he's not divorced yet because you're already deep in. But it sounds like the divorce is inevitable, right?
Yeah, totally.
How long have you guys
Like
been
he's
dating?
asking for it to be finalized this month. Like, could she just sign the papers and be
Right.
done? And she's the one who initiated it anyway, and he wants out. So
Okay.
he was
How
saying
long has
just
the divorce been going on?
like a year and a half.
Okay, long. And how can I ask how old he is?
55 tomorrow.
Okay. And are you in the same range?
Yeah, 47.
Okay. Okay. So he's having a hard time with the divorce? Is that what you're getting sucked
Oh,
into
she's
experiencing his
just
feelings?
super nasty every time he goes moving more stuff out. I mean, they sold their condo and he's just telling me she's screaming at him and making up stuff and like stuff he already moved to storage, which was his, and then she's screaming that she wants it back. And
Is it too much for
okay.
you?
No, I just
Okay.
I'm pretty really strong and educated in psychology, so I just haven't actually ever dated somebody divorcing or
Right. It's messy.
anywhere close to a
Yeah.
divorce. And so it's also the same if it were just somebody fighting with their mother,
Right.
dad, I don't know, right? Some housemate,
It's
best
pretty
friend, a
intense.
fight.
Yeah. Yeah.
But just to be, you're saying some things that are different than I've ever read about. So again, like I haven't read about it yet. I mean, I've heard everyone talking about yin and yang, but I haven't studied it
Okay.
in a relationship setting. So thought
Well, what is
you
he
might
saying? Does he
have
want to be
insight.
in the yang?
Um, so I need you to help
Okay.
explain what
Okay.
your
So
question means
did
to
you
me.
hear the beginning of the difference between feminine and masculine, yin and yang?
I jumped on at like 6:03. Did I
Okay.
miss
So yeah,
it?
you
It's
should
just
have heard, but
very,
I'll repeat it a little bit because it's hard to
thanks.
take everything in, especially like the first time. I know when I first heard this work, I thought it was really confusing and I really didn't understand it. Something resonated, but I saw an incredible result in someone else who was doing this work, and that kept me curious until I figured it out. So don't feel bad about not understanding. So basically, all of us are both yin and yang. Um, Oftentimes we are a little bit more one energy, and that energy often follows the gender we were born with. Not always, but probably like 75 to 85% of the time. Yin is feminine, yang is masculine. One isn't better than the other.
Yeah.
All of us are both. But when we're in our intimate relationships and there's a conflict or an awkward situation, it helps to understand which you want more. Do you want your feelings cherished, which is the yin or feminine position, or do you want your thoughts respected, which is the yang or masculine position?
I think he's very in his own masculine, and he's strangely confident about what his work, his many projects, and um, but at the same time, I'm seeing. I think he really appreciates that I'm tender with him and giving him space to think. And I'm saying, like, it's his birthday tomorrow. Hey, it is important you take the day before your birthday to reflect on like positive things that have happened to you in this last year, not just the horrific stuff, but that you can remember and close out this year. And he's following all my guidance
Okay, but
and
don't want to
thanking
fall
me.
into being the mom
Yeah, definitely. I don't want
because
that.
that's going to kill
Right.
the chemistry.
Yeah.
So, okay. So is he so you when you is he asking for help? So first of all, I
No,
asked you what you
no.
wanted and you told me what he wanted. What
Okay,
energy
maybe.
are you in?
I definitely didn't understand that you asked about
Oh,
me.
okay.
Um, okay, so what role do I want
Do you think you
to
want your
play?
feelings cherished more or your thoughts respected more?
Sorry, right now or longer term? Like, I'm not actually having a problem with it. Is there's not
Right.
an
You don't
imbalance? I
always
think
have to
he's
do it,
listening.
but just I mean in like in an awkward situation or in a conflict, which is more important to you? Everybody wants both. And if you're an alpha, it's really hard to decide because you have a strong feminine side and a strong masculine side.
Well, I also know how smart I am, how intelligent and
Right.
educated I am, so that I need my thoughts completely respected. There's no doubt there. If I say something, it's because I'm confident and I can reference it. And I mean, I'm an evolutionary biologist, so I actually like have put a lot of thought into human experience.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah. You sound really smart. I
So,
mean, that's great. And you don't want to lose that. I'm not saying lose that. Um, it's just if you want to amp up your feminine side, there would be things that I would tell you to do. But if you wanted to stay in your masculine side, then I would give you slightly different advice. My concern, look, you guys are both at
mm,
the age where women are starting to get a little more masculine anyways, and men are starting to get a little more feminine, right? It's like
mm,
45, 50,
mm-hmm.
55. This is when menopause and andropause starts to begin. Sometimes earlier for some people. But so
Yeah,
for you guys, because it sounds like both of you guys, it sounds like he's an alpha and you're an alpha, basically. So if
I think
it's hard
so.
to answer that question, then what I would say to you is if you start with a feeling, then ask about his thoughts. And if you start with a thought, then ask about his feelings. But I also want to caution you that how long have you guys been together now?
Just 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Oh my God, it's so short.
Yeah, but
Okay.
like is instant connection of
Okay,
every
I
single
love it.
thing
I
that we
love it. I
have
love it.
is like we have everything in
So you
common and
have
we
good
can't
chemistry. It sounds like you
totally
guys are
amazing
already
chemistry.
communicating pretty well.
Yeah,
Do you
completely.
want the same things? Have
Yeah,
you
I mean
talked
it
about that yet?
appears so.
That
I
would be
mean
that
I
would
don't
be the
really want
last step.
his dog smells, but otherwise like
Okay. Okay, because for
Um,
a successful relationship, I usually talk about the three C's: chemistry, compatibility, and communication.
mhm.
Chemistry is a gift from God, right? You have it, you don't. That's it. We can have chemistry for people we know aren't good for us. Um, Compatibility, you can work on a little bit. That means, do you want the same things? Like you guys both live in LA, or you both want to live on a boat, or whatever it is.
Yeah, we
Also,
we totally even talked about living on a boat.
oh,
So
funny. I just
yeah,
pulled that out of the air.
I know
I
that
heard
is
you.
pretty
And then communication we can work
good.
on the most. So my only
Yeah, no, we
thing is
both
with
talked about
you
being
when you're
farmers
talking
too.
about supporting him, if you want to stick with like the traditional roles, I just am concerned. I don't want you to get too into momming him and
Yeah, I
like
don't want to either. That's true.
advising.
Hmm.
So in general, I say don't give advice unless somebody's asking for advice. You can just like listen because you might start to get really, you guys are in the first flush of it now. The first 3 months is the perfect period. So nothing's going to bother you now.
Yeah.
Um, it's the next 3 months, which is the imperfect period, and then the time after that. So it's really not until like 6 to 9 months that you see if it's actually gonna be a relationship that can like get on its feet, right? And
Yeah.
that way.
Mhm.
Um, so right now I would just caution you to spending too much time like coddling him. In general, for a man, it's best to respect his thoughts. So that means whatever he's doing, okay, she screamed at him. She da da da. She blah 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 blah. So I closed the garage door and I got out of there. I would focus in responding to him. Focus on what he did and praising it. So his masculine. That was a great
Mm-hmm.
idea. That was the right thing to do. Get out of there. What a nightmare. But try not
Yeah.
to go too much into his feelings because then you're going to become like Wendy and then he'll lapse into Peter Pan. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, yeah, totally.
Okay.
And I don't want that dynamic even. I
Right.
do want to help him like be done with what I can hear him angry about is that he really put in so much work to building a family where the kids are in their 20s now, so that's fine. But the he just gave this impression also to the world, like to himself and to all their friends, colleagues, the whole freaking Top Gun, crew, his buddies, just are all shocked that this divorce is happening and hasn't told everybody.
Right.
So he's struggling with that of some cognitive dissonance when, like, if you've been miserable for 10 years, though, why didn't you just move forward? Everybody's getting divorced. Everyone gets divorced. Everybody lives, or they
Well,
stay
all
married and they're
relationships
miserable.
end either in
Like,
divorce or death.
so
So,
yeah, but people are miserable when they stay together, and that's not a good way to live. So I wonder why it's so hard for him to let go of this
okay,
instead
but I
of because
want you
everything
to
else he's like
not.
embracing his
I'm already
life.
know more about him than you. So I'm not shitting on you. I totally get it. I'm just like you, honestly. I'm like, I want to help and take care of and all that. But ultimately, that makes me resentful and burnt out, and it killed the chemistry in my marriage. And so we had to like really go back and fix it with these tools, and it worked.
Mm.
But it's probably preferable not to have to go down that road, especially where you guys are at in your lives. I was like, that was for me, that was over 10 years ago. So all I'm saying is try not to get too involved in the details of it and help him by listening and by praising what he has decided to do. But I don't want you to ruin what sounds like a really good connection
Hmm.
by getting sucked into his divorce. And it may be that you need to wait until he's a little more out of it, but just watch it for you. I'm not saying get away from him. Obviously, you're really excited to be with him and see him and everything. I'm just saying keep an eye on it for you and try not, as much as you can, try not to step into that mothering role. Does that make sense?
Well, is there another? Because I think that I've been doing a great job not being mothering, but just being like, just listening, allowing him to just vent and then to talk about his projects so that he is forward thinking
Good.
instead of about her and supporting and laughing
But
like
don't forget
crazy.
to get what
But
you need. What you
oh
need.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I got my massage. Like I
Okay,
need
good.
my neck pain rub, like
Okay, good.
I'm
Yeah, ask him for help.
yeah.
Keep him in the present, which
No, I
really
think
happens.
I love that you say that is such a great tool is to ask for help and make
Yes,
him feel useful that I'm a really functional person on many levels, but I have chronic pain. So he actually can help me directly with the chronic pain.
that's so good because we
Yeah.
need to do good to feel good. And if you don't need him, he will not stick around. You understand?
Yeah, that is such a strange concept to me, but I understand that that is the way a man's brain is often wired.
Yeah, it's not the same as us. So enjoy it,
Thank you.
Receive, practice receiving like jazz and let it come back and let us know how it goes.
Yeah, I will.
Okay,
Definitely.
good.
Thank you.
You are so
Appreciate it.
welcome. Thank you guys for sharing. I know I didn't get to everybody's question tonight. I will be back next week, but of course you guys are always have the option of reaching out to me during the week if you want. And I also appreciate if you hit that your support, if you hit that pledge button on the fundraising. And if I don't hear from you, then I guess I will see you back here. Have a good night.